We have some major Miami Heat trade deadline news to discuss today, as reports are coming out that they are very interested in pursuing and acquiring Jeremy Grant from the Portland Trail Blazers, as well as Klay Thompson. The Heat are among favorites to land the Warriors 3-and-D wings. We're going to break all that down in this episode of Heat Digest. Before we do, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. We noticed 97.5% of you who are watching are not subscribed, so if you aren't already, make sure to hit that button. We're trying to hit 1,000 very, very soon, so make sure to hit that. We're less than 150 away, and let's just get right into the video today. It's a crazy day in the NBA. The trade deadline's ongoing. Things are going bananas, and that's not the anything different for the Heat, as the Grant to Heat trade mill is starting to get underway. Now, this original report dropped, I believe, yesterday. It's going to start to come to fruition now a little bit, depending on what reporter you look at here. And you can see the actual report right now. And it's the Heat are speculated to have interest in Blazers forward Jeremy Grant per Shandell Rich. Hero is still a young, effective scorer who has an excellent has excelled on good teams for basically his entire career, and at worst, he's another trade chip for the future. Jovic could also start to realize some of his potential if he finally gets some consistent playing time. So it's a lot to unpack here. So if the Heat are going to go for Jeremy Grant, it seems that the Portland Trail Blazers would want Jovic and Tyler Hero, and whether they want additional draft compensation is still up in the air a little bit, but Jeremy Grant is a very, very good player. He's a very good defender now at this point of his career. He's a very good three-level wing. But the thing is, are you willing to give up Tyler Hero and Nikola Jovic for a guy like Jeremy Grant? You look at his stats this season. I mean, he is an absolute hooper. We make the joke on the channel all the time, another 20-point-per-game scorer. But the biggest thing is that the 20-point-per-game scorer in the team right now so far throughout the season have yet to fully gel. He's averaged 21 points a game, 46% from the field, 40% from 3 on 5 attempts. Like, he would kind of replace what Tyler Hero does to a degree. They're very different players. Hero's more of a three-point shooter. I mean, Grant at this point is also a great three-point shooter, but Grant provides you much better defense, much better length. He's a veteran guy, so this would be very, very interesting for the Miami Heat. And would this put them over the top is the question, because the biggest thing now is that he is still not a big man. The Heat need to acquire a big man, and depending on what they do the rest of the day today, we'll have you covered with all the latest news. It'll be very disappointing, a bit of a disaster if they don't acquire some sort of big man, whether that's Andre Drummond, who's reportedly wanted like three second-round picks, not for first-round picks, but 3 second-round picks for Drummond. It's going to be interesting to see what the Heat do, but looking at specifically Jeremy Grant from a lens here, it's starting to seem like maybe Tyler Hero could be up in the air just because of the redundancy that the team has right now. I mean, they have a lot of scores. They have Terry Rozier, Jaime Jaquez. They have all these guys, Duncan Robinson. Tyler Hero is obviously a step above those guys value-wise, but when you continue to look at the stats here and the different reports, becomes very interesting, as Jeremy Grant is having a very good season, and ever since coming to Detroit back in the COVID-shortened year in 2020, he has been an unbelievable player. He's improved a ton. He's been a 20-point-per-game scorer. He can defend. Like, he's a guy that would really, really, really help this Heat team, like really help them. But the biggest thing is, could they add another big man on top of that, or would you want to use the assets and would looking to acquire a guy like Grant? It's going to cost you Tyler Hero and Jovic, and maybe you save your picks and just trade those guys and obviously make the salaries work and things like that. But it'll be very interesting to see. And there's also more and more reports picking up. So Jeremy Grant to Miami Heat rumors picking up steam, and now the deadline is today. So it's going to be very interesting to see that. But the basic thing is if the Blazers would even want to consider this, and if it would work from both sides. They do the Blazers value Hero at all, though. He wasn't coveted during the Damian Lillard trade talks, but Hero is still a young, effective scorer who has excelled in good teams for basically his entire career. He could reclaim his 6-man role with Portland, or I'd say he'd probably start in Portland, and then maybe they have him long-term to pair alongside Scoot Henderson. Is not a great shooter at this point of his career, so it could work out very well. And then, of course, the Jovic thing is very interesting, too. So I want to ask you, leave it in the comment section, would you be willing to give up Nikola Jovic and Tyler Hero for a guy like Jeremy Grant, who is an unbelievable player? He's very good, and I think a lot of teams around the league, whether you look at the Sixers, maybe a lot of these different teams, the Lakers could even go for it, want Jeremy Grant, and I think his price is probably a first, but when you're looking at the Heat, you're probably going to be looking to save your first, maybe to try to get another big man this trade deadline. Who knows? It's like 3 hours away at the time of recording the trade deadline, or maybe a bit more depending on what time it is today. But the biggest thing here is that the Heat need to do something this trade deadline, and Jeremy Grant would be a very, very good option, and I would not mind at all if he is the one that the Heat end up picking up at the deadline, as long as they get some sort of big man. I mean, we saw the Raptors, they went out and got Kelly Olynyk. We've seen a lot of the teams. We have the Sixers having a lot of interest in Andre Drummond. We'll obviously know in a few hours when everything comes to fruition after the trade deadline. We'll have you covered. We're going to have a lot of videos, so stay tuned for that, because there's going to be a lot to talk about regarding what the Heat did or did not do. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on Jeremy Grant, and let's move now quickly before wrap up to the Heat favorites for Klay Thompson, which again is not a big man, and they haven't been rumored too much in the big man rumor mill, which is a bit concerning. Maybe they wait for the buyout market and do some buyout things there regarding a big man. They just need a big body to be able to guard the guys like Embiid when healthy, Nikola Jokic, like all these guys who are the best big men in the NBA. The Heat don't really have that big man stopper that a lot of teams do. Even if it's not, you're not going to stop Nikola Jokic. You're not going to stop Joel Embiid. But having a big body you can throw out there so that way you don't have to throw Bam and throw all these different guys out there is very important. But when looking at Klay Thompson here, the Sixers are among favorites, and the Heat are right behind them, about at even odds, or the same, not even odds, but even odds compared to the Sixers, plus 10 less. Miami Heat at plus 300 now. When you're looking at Klay Thompson, this is another interesting one. I mean, he's kind of fallen off a little bit this season. He's still averaging 17 a game. He's still a decent shooter. His defense has taken a significant step back compared to his younger Klay Thompson days. But I mean, he's a very solid player, and I think he's a guy that maybe could come to the Miami Heat. This one's a bit more of an up in the air one. His shooting's down a little bit. He's shooting 37.7%. So I don't know if Klay Thompson necessarily fits. And then when you're looking at what you would be potentially giving up for Klay Thompson, you're probably looking at, I would assume if the Warriors are going to give him up, it would be some draft compensation among other things. So I don't know if this one makes as much sense. But I mean, if the Heat want a veteran presence, a guy who can play defense and shoot threes, maybe they go out and get him. Again, you probably wouldn't get both of these guys. You'd probably be one or the other. I think they have one more major ad in them regarding a wing, and whether that is Klay Thompson, whether that is Jeremy Grant, whether that is any of these other guys is still up in the air and yet to be seen. But it's going to be very interesting to see. And let me know in the comments, what would you be willing, if anything, to give up for Klay Thompson? Because I know Klay Thompson, among NBA fans, has kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. A lot of fans out there don't really want him just because of all there's like memes and things out there of how bad he's been with the Warriors. He's still a valuable player, and I think he's a bit more valuable to the Warriors than he is to other teams. So it's going to be interesting to see. And it's very weird right now. But that'll wrap it up. The deadline is very, very close. We're going to be pumping out content for you guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Hit the subscribe button and stay tuned, and we'll have lots of news coming for you later today. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are and everything here. See you soon.